What is up, guys? Wanted to do a review. Now, I am still on hiatus when it comes to San Andreas. I apologize for that, and I thank everyone for being patient with me on that. But I wanted to do another video of a game I do want to Let's Play sometime, and it came out last year. It's also by Rockstar Games, and it's my favorite PS4 game. Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, why do I love this game? For a few reasons. I love the first game. I thought the story was really good. I loved John Marston as a character. I loved the time period it took place in 1911. And what this does is, unlike a lot of shitty prequels like The Thing, 2011, many others, this actually makes the story of the first game even better. Now, normally with prequels, you can do many things wrong with them, like set up something that's inconvenient, and I'm just going to cut this really quick while I get my mouse. Back to what I was saying was, the reason it works is it extends the story and makes it better. It doesn't add useless bullshit that you didn't need. It doesn't say, oh, this happened, and it's not a copy of the first game. Like, Rockstar, I think they mastered this because, you know, remember, in 2006, they had Grand Theft Auto, in 2005 and 2006, they wrote Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories and Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories, which are both prequels to two of their classic games, Grand Theft Auto 3 and Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and they did a good job extending the characters and not just writing them off like, oh, this happened. It's not like, oh, Tony was quiet like Claude. It's like, no, they make Tony you see in the, I could do a whole thing about that, like you see how he is in Liberty City Stories and compare it to GTA 3, and it sets it up well. And this one, what they do is they have you play as Arthur Morgan. Now this section right here, I want to say to everyone, this is the non-spoiler section, so what I'm going to do is go through the non-spoiler section, and then I'm going to put a spoiler warning because I do have a lot to talk about this game, but I understand not everyone's played this game, and not everyone wants to spoil it. So, starting with the non-spoiler section, what do I love about this game? What do I think Rockstar did right? I love the world it takes place in. Now, the first game, it took place in 1911, while this game takes place in 1899, and boy, they used the PS4 to its advantage. I love how there's immense details. Like, they really do a good job of setting up the time period. Like how there's different things, like you see Old West gangs, they're dying off. Excuse me. And there's more evolution that plays a big bit in the story. You see the guns there, they're big in that time. You see the horses and all that. You see people riding those. And they really, Rockstar went for it. And that's what I love about Rockstar is each time they go in their games, they go for it. They don't push back, they don't sugarcoat it, they go for it. That's what I think other game companies should take inspiration from, because Rockstar, I think, does that best. And they also bring back things like the Deadeye system, but slightly different in this one. But it's kind of hard to explain. If somebody wants to do a good explanation down in the comments, you're more than welcome to. But it makes a different sound. And I'm going to talk more about the Deadeye in the spoilers section. But yeah, what else do I love? I love the weapons and I love the controls. They feel very fluid. They don't feel clunky or anything. They feel like easy to move. And when they hit, it hits. And I love this part is you can blow off people's heads. Like, Rockstar must have been inspired by The Last of Us, because you can blow off people's heads, you can blow off people's limbs, and you can blow off people's arms. Which, when I found this out, I was so satisfied. Like, wow, they really went for it. And another one you can do, just like the... Sorry guys, I'm going to cut this really quick while I get some water, because my throat's really dry. So 1 second. I apologize for that cut again, but yeah. You can actually play poker. You can even rent hotels, which that's so cool in my opinion. And another thing you can do whenever you play the game is you can even have your fellow gang members bust you out, which that is super cool. And another thing you can do is it's not as prominent as it is in the first game, but you can do duels. You have stranger missions just like the first game. And the hunting, they advanced it even more, which it can be a pain, but I love the ideas. They made it realistic to like where if you shoot the animal, you can damage the skin and it'll sell for less. Which I think that's really cool. They went for the realism. Like, they still make the physics fun, but they really went with it for the realism. To where if you get your skin damaged, you're fucked. If you... Oops. Ah, fuck, my battery in my mouse. Okay, good. My trackpad works, I'll just do it later. But yeah, if you get your skin damaged, you're fucked. If you blow it up, you're fucked. And you can do another thing where you can wound the animal so much you can stab it and then it's dead. And you can sell it for a decent amount. You can craft outfits. You've got a lot of cool stuff there. And another thing I like is, besides that, is the hunting, is that you can do that. You can modify your gun. They have more interesting guns. You can actually dual wield, which reminds me a lot of San Andreas, because you can dual wield in that game, but it's not like as prominent. Or actually it is. I was going to say, oh, you can't dual wield machine guns, and then I'm like, no shit, that's the fucking 1800s. No shit, you can't use machine guns. You dummy. But yeah, you can dual wield machine guns, you can have axes, and you can have knives. And I think that's really cool. And you can also fish. And you could row in some boats. But yeah, those are the things I love. And one other thing is, you can actually bond with your horse, and you have an honor system. When I get into the spoiler section, I'm going to talk more about the honor system. But in short of it, I love the atmosphere of the game. I love the details they put in. And they also have a thing where if you punch a horse behind your back, you'll get kicked by it, which is really funny. But yeah, in short of it, in the spoiler-free section, I love the game, I love the story, and I love Arthur Morgan. So now we're getting into spoilers, so I'm going to hold this in the game in the air. Now, while I'm holding, whenever I put this down, I'm going to count to 10. Or actually, no, I'm going to count from 5. After I set this game down, it'll be spoilers. I'm going to put a timestamp somewhere right there for you guys if you guys want to skip to the end of the video. But if you do not want spoilers, if you have not played the game and you do not want to be spoiled, do not watch this next section. So spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoilers incoming. Now, to get more into the story in the spoiler section, what do I love about it? I love Arthur Morgan as a protagonist. He has, what they set him up as is an arc. First, you see in the beginning that the gang life is all he knew. He's with this, you have returning characters from the game and new voice actors, like you have Dutch's voice actor Benjamin Brian Davis return, you have Rob Wiedoff return for John Marston, and you actually see more of John Marston, how he was in the gang before he left. And you also have Edgar Ross's voice actor and Bill Williamson's voice actor return, which is really cool. There's an interview Rob Wiedoff did in 2013. After watching that, I have genuine respect for that dude, because what he talked about was him living the farm life, and how he's not big into Hollywood, but I have respect for him if he's willing to come back and replay John Marston in the second game. Like, that's really cool of him. And I love Roger Clark, who's Rockstar Games is, he's Arthur Morgan's voice actor. And he nailed the role. Because what you see in the beginning is the start of the arc is Arthur's a bastard. He punches people senseless. Like for Strauss, he beats people senseless. He caused the guy to die. He does everything for the gang. And they do not sugarcoat it. They're not trying to portray Arthur as a good person in the beginning. He is a legit bad guy in the beginning. And what you see is a very slow transformation from Arthur, from being very gang-oriented to eventually being a person who wants to get people out of the gang and survive. Because what happens during the story is that you see they're all in camp. In the beginning, you see they're in the camp in the snowy fields area because they're escaping a heist from Blackwater with Arthur, Hosea, Micah, fuck Micah. Excuse me. Micah, Abigail, Jack. You see young Jack and Pearson. You have new characters and returning characters. You have Uncle return. You have John return. Abigail return. Abigail doesn't have the same voice actress though, and Uncle doesn't have the same voice actor either. But you also have new characters. One of my favorites is Charles Smith, who Charles Smith is basically an African American and Native American at the same time. Now, I love Charles Smith because I love how he's very silent, but he's a man of few words. But what you see in the story is that it progresses. Eventually the Pinkertons catch up with the Vanderlyn gang, and they have to move. And then eventually they do have a lot of similar themes with the first game. Like they have another side where you play both sides, and you have this character who I love. This guy, his name's Sean McGuire. I gotta say, Sean McGuire is one of Rockstar's best characters. I mean, some might say he's very stereotypically Irish, but I love his personality, how he's very happy-go-lucky, very funny. You first rescue him, and oh yeah, you also have Javier Escuela return, different voice actor for him too. You rescue him, and he becomes a part of the gang. And then, eventually during the Braithwaite feud, this is a death. When I was playing the game, I screamed when I saw it because I did not see this coming. Sean is like, oh, Arthur goes, oh, wait a minute, this don't feel right with Bill, Micah, Sean, and Arthur all together. He's like, oh, it didn't feel right. I couldn't feel that. Boom! And then shoots right in the head and then comes into a massive shootout. Which, I did not see that coming when I was first playing the game, that Sean died. I loved Sean. Which this game does a good job at is keeping you guessing. And then after that they move, and then Jack gets kidnapped by the Braithwaites. And then it goes from there. And speaking of Jack, you also have the famous scene where they did a good job referencing. They do a good job referencing the first game, because they also, for those who played the first game and know the epilogue, whenever Jack kills Edgar Ross, the first point they meet with Arthur is at a fishing, as they're going for fishing, and the last place they meet Edgar Ross is pretty much on a lake, kind of fishing, well, duck hunting, but you get the idea. And then Jack gets kidnapped, and then they find out after this brutal shootout in the Braithwaite mansion, Dutch kills him. And you see, with Arthur's arc, Dutch, you see him going crazier and crazier, which they did such a good job setting that up, because you see in the first game, it's very mysterious, kind of, you could take a guess, but this one, they have it make sense. He kills one of the Braithwaites, and then after that, they go to Saint Denis, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I was going to say Saint Denis, but that's not how you pronounce it. You go from Saint Denis, and then you rescue Jack, and then eventually they rob. Angelo Bronte betrays him, but betrays the Dutch Vanderlyn gang, and I'll get more to another part I love with Lenny. Is that This review is going to be all over the place. I'm not going in order of the story. I'm just saying what I love is they're there with Lenny. They betray him because Angelo Bronte, you see that he's basically a typical Italian gangster. He's a typical... sorry, I'm sending a message. He's a typical Italian gangster where he owns everything in the city. He owns the cops, the mayor, the government. He owns everything. So basically he sends the cops after them. They end up in a brutal shootout. Then they kill Angelo Bronte. But before I get to that, a part in the beginning of the game that I love, Lenny, is the whole scene where him and Arthur get drunk when trying to rescue Micah. I'm going to get back to what I was saying about Angelo Bronte, but it gets so funny. He's like, Lenny, where are you? And Rockstar did a good job with this. And it shows they had their sense of humor, even in 2008, in this day and age. They've still got it. They have, right here in the bottom, middle, in the text, they did this on purpose, and it was so funny, where it says, "Ya know!" Or they misspelled Lenny. Or, "Ya know!" It's so funny. Or then he's like, Lenny, where are you hiding? Lenny. Oh, Lenny, there you are. How many have you had, pal? Or you get another one where he sees Lenny as a lady and he's like, Lenny, there you are. And then the lady goes, do I look like a lady to you? And I bursted laughing. And another part that was so funny. I could not stop laughing for days with this, but was where Arthur's there and he's like, hey, you think it's going to be a fight? And then he's like, trying to fight the guys with Lenny on top. He's like, hey buddy, shut your mouth. He's like, hey, what did you say? I said, get lost, buddy. Yeah, shut up, mister. Yeah, shut your mouth. And they're about to punch, and then it just transforms to them dancing, going, da, 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 da. It's so funny. But back to Angelo Bronte. You basically kill Angelo Bronte. You storm his mansion, and then Dutch feeds him to an alligator. And talking a little bit about Micah, he is a son of a bitch. He is a bad guy. He fucks with everybody. He basically is a pig. He's a racist. He's an asshole. And you figure out later in the game, he's the one who told the Pinkertons where the Vanderlyn gang was hiding. So, fuck Micah! Fuck you, Micah! Fuck you, Micah! Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you! But yeah. And then you keep progressing. They do have heists in this game, which is cool. One of the things I think this game has such a strong impact is I love the score. First you have the heist in Valentine with Bill, Arthur, and Karen. Yeah, Karen. And then you have that song that da da da. I love how it goes da 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 da. Here, I'm gonna play this really quickly. I'm gonna play it really quickly just to show everyone it off. The Valentine score. Valentine. I love this score very much, and I think it does it well. Here it is. Dun, 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 dun. It keeps building up, basically. I'm going to play a little bit of it. This also plays a little bit when you first see Leviticus Cornwall. Kind of a little bit of a different version, though. comes, this is one of my favorite parts of the score right here. It just builds up. I'm going to play another example. That's one of the significant points, is the score is very intense and it really builds it up. I'm going to play Angelo Bronte's theme. I'm going to be playing some of my favorite scores in this video. And another thing I love is the whole craziness of it. Every mission you do it's a build-up. It gets more and more intense. Like, you start from Valentine, I'm like, okay, what's going to happen here? Because I knew when I was playing the game, it's going to be a build-up. So I was like, oh, what's going to happen? Wow, it's getting more intense. Wow, it's getting more intense is basically how I was reacting. But I love this score. It's of Angelo Bronte. This plays when you go storm Angelo Bronte's mansion, and it makes the whole mission so fucking epic. And I love the name of the mission. Revenge is a dish best served eaten, which that has to be a reference to GTA 4. Revenge is a dish best served cold. That has to be a reference. Another reference they make in that mission is they do reference the first game when John sees Javier, where he says, the way I see it, it's either me or you. Dutch says that exact same line. He's like, it was us or him. So this game does good with the references. I'm going to let the score play a little. But yeah, I love the scores in this game. It does it so well. Then you have the part where all the characters die. Next up was Jose's, which I was shocked. Jose's and Lenny's, which I didn't see coming for both of them. First, what happens is they're doing a heist in Saint Denis after they kill Angelo Bronte. And then, first what happens is Jose is taken by Agent Milton of the Pinkertons. He pushes him, lets him walk forward, then shoots him right in the chest, and then he flops down. Which I didn't see coming. And then, eventually they bust out, and the gang members you have there are Charles is there, Micah is there, John's there, Dutch is there, Arthur of course, and Lenny are all on that heist. And then eventually they bust out, and then Lenny gets shot. And this one sucked because it happened in game. He didn't even have a cutscene. He's like, we can get across through here. No, Lenny! Then he gets shot, which was too bad because this point was the turning point for Arthur, where his arc really starts from there. After that, basically, him and Dutch, their relationship is basically irreparable. Basically, after that, they get stranded on an island near called Guarma. I was going to say Guam, but it's not that Guam. Guarma, which is kind of an island near Cuba. Charles led them off, and John got arrested. And then they're on the island. They find a way to get out. They find this dictator named Fusar. They kill him, and then they eventually get out. And now they're back, and now they're in this Angelo Falls. And an example of Arthur's arc is, one thing I highly recommend people do is play Arthur with good honor. It makes sense for the game, is that his arc is that he gets better as a person. Like, for example, one of the turning points in the game is, I hope none of you who I warned about the spoilers are watching right now, unless you don't care about spoilers, of course, because this was a turning point. This was the biggest twist I did not see coming. That beginning mission where you're doing for Strauss, money lending and other sins 5, Arthur gets coughed on by a farmer named Thomas Downs. Well, what you find out later is he had tuberculosis and he gave it to Arthur. Now, these days you'd be like, tuberculosis? That's easily curable. But you gotta understand, back in 1999, doctors weren't advanced. So if you got tuberculosis, you were fucked. You basically got your death warrant signed. it was basically, yeah, it was basically like getting cancer in the 1800s. So what Arthur does after that is he repairs the relationship. First, one of the things is he stands up to Dutch. He breaks John out of prison in a pretty epic mission where he fights the guards, captures him, and he's there with Sadie Adler. I love Sadie Adler, is also one of my favorite characters. Busts him out, stands up to Dutch, and you also see throughout the game he has a dream of what his honor is. If you have good honor, you see a big deer. If you have low honor, you'll see a wolf. And the cutscenes always depend. Like one of the later scenes with him and John, and one of the things I think makes this game strong is Arthur and John's relationship were fantastic. Hands off to Rob Whiteoff and Roger Clark, because they both did a fantastic job. You see basically what they set it up is, in the first game it leaves it mysterious, the gang for John, but you figure out Arthur was the reason he got out. He gives him the idea to leave for Jack and this and that, which you only get that conversation if you have good honor, so that's why I recommend it. He saved him and all that. It just gets interesting. And this next part was you see another story which I think is cool, is you see the story of Native Americans back in that day when how bad they were treated back then. And I think it's interesting. I know there's the controversy of Charles Smith blackface. I'm like, another fucking suement of stupid fucking people. I'm sorry, but that's bullshit. Suing over fucking blackface whenever it's fucking takes place in 1899. But back to what I was saying. You meet a Native American chief named Rains Falls, who is very well acted. I'm not sure who his voice actor is, so if somebody wants to leave it down in the comments, they're more than welcome to. You see that his tribe is basically going down, and this tyrant of a military soldier basically accuses them of breaking it, and then is about to hang a guy, for one of his soldiers, from trees, and Captain Monroe. Then Arthur takes him, and then basically then a shootout happens and he gets Captain Monroe out. Now, this next part depends on how you do it. You'll either meet Reverend Swanson or you'll meet this nun you meet in a stranger mission. Now, I actually like both cutscenes with Reverend Swanson. Now, the ones with Reverend Swanson, you can have him for low honor or high honor. The nun you have to have high honor with, or else you won't meet her, and you have to do the mission for her. Now, the one quote I remember from his low honor with Reverend Swanson is, "I ain't changed. I'm still a bad man." Or for his high honor, it's, "I think my path is coming to an end, Reverend." And both cutscenes are great, but I have to agree to people. The nun scene stands out because you see Arthur admits he's dying and is afraid. Now, I'm going to get more to Arthur at the moment when I'm talking this story, but yeah, that cutscene's very powerful, and the nun doesn't judge him. She basically gives him his advice and all that, and mentions, he's like, this scene was so powerful, it was crazy. I got TB, and I got it beating the man to death. Which is obviously referencing the beginning with Thomas Downs, but yeah, it's interesting. And also back to what I was saying about Gorm, they have a reference to GTA 4. Basically what happens is, whenever they're captured by the soldiers, when the soldier asks Dutch, "What is your name?" Dutch says, "Aiden O'Malley." Now, for those who don't know, I'm sure for those GTA fans, they'll know who Aiden O'Malley is. But for those who don't know, Aiden O'Malley was in a mission in GTA 4 called Tunnel of Death, where you bust him out for Gerald McQuarrie, and he's his old prison mate. They make a reference to that, which, when I heard that, I fucking screamed, because that is one of the best ways to make a callback to one of the best games 10 years later. But yeah, I love the Native American story back to that because it shows what happened, and they get into an all-out war basically, and it gets worse. And you see the gang's basically deteriorated because after that, Pearson leaves, Uncle left, and of course Reverend Swanson left. And then after that, they get into the war, and you get to the final mission. Now, I want to mention one of the best Stranger missions, and this scene really won me over for Arthur. Now, this you can only get if you play High Honor, but I think Arthur with High Honor is canon. Some might disagree, but I think Arthur with High Honor is canon, and here's why. It makes perfect sense that the way he acts, and I'm going to get to the endings, because like GTA 4, since I mentioned that, this game has 2 endings. But High Honor makes sense because basically what happens at the end is that you'll actually run into Meredith Downs, and you figure out that after that, her life is in the shitter. She's basically a prostitute. The first encounter you see is during Brother Dorkins' mission. You'll see her asking Arthur, "Hey, do you want some company?" And he's like, "Hey, I know you, Mrs. Downs?" And she's like, "No, get away." And then the cops end up on Arthur, and then you see her again. And then you'll find her in Annisburg, asking her that same question. And then she talks to her, and you figure out how bad the life it was after her husband died, that she had to sell off her farm and become a prostitute, and her son, Archie, I think it is, Richie or Archie, or no, it's Archie, yeah, it's Archie, is a mine worker, and he's basically being worked to death. And what Arthur does, and this is the sign that Arthur's been through his arc, is he helps out the people he fucked his life up. He fucked up with their life by saving Archie from them, stands up to the guards, beats them up, and then takes Archie, brings him back to Meredith. And then in the second mission, and I love the title of the mission, Do Not Seek Absolution, because in this mission, Arthur knows he fucked up. Arthur knows he caused these people harm. He doesn't try to be a good guy. And I love the ending, and I love this quote. And they're like, "Here," Arthur goes, "Here, take the money," after the final mission, after he convinces Mrs. Downs to leave. And she's like, "I don't want your money." Yeah, I know you don't want it, but you sure as shit need it. Look, I know I ruined your life. I suffer for it every day. But don't get yourself killed because of your pride. I've seen it kill too many people. Roger Clark's delivery on that line really won me over, because that was his arc right there. You really saw it. Was whenever he actually helped the same people he murdered their family, part of their family, to actually get out of their situation. And you see in the end credits, things actually went better for them, because Archie actually owns a golf course, and you see Mrs. Downs, slightly older, and yeah, I love that scene. I love that mission the most because it is sad. It is very tragic. The music that plays really is a tearjerker. And now you get to the ending where you had the Native War, and now this is how it really sets up the first game. Is, in the first game, John references that he was shot and then left for dead. Well, you see it in this game. Well, now he wasn't left for dead by Arthur. Well, he thinks he is, kind of. But during a last train heist, Dutch fully turns on John, basically, because Arthur just basically says, "I insist we take John's family out." She's like, "Sure, whatever you say." And also back to Dutch to show how crazy he's gotten. He does kill Leviticus Cornwall because of all of what's happening, because you find out he's been funding the Pinkertons. He kills him. He's like, "Sure, I'll do no such thing." Well, that wasn't like that. He finds out what happened. And I love this exchange. Whoever voiced Leviticus Cornwall, he did a good job. Basically, what happens is, it starts with this exchange. "You robbed me, sir." Oh. Not here. I'm going to find it really quickly. Because of course, in the beginning, you had the train robbery with Leviticus Cornwall. And in the beginning, when he was punched by Micah, Arthur, was you followed? Micah being a dick, basically. Come on. Perhaps there's already a plague on your house, Mr. Cornwall. What do you want, sir? I ain't quite sure just yet. You're imputing with your undoing, sir. I'm undone already. Even my best friend here, he thinks I'm crazy. And this poor fellow you are talking to, my feelings are hurt. You robbed me, sir, and you robbed him. Funny world. What I was saying... You robbed me, sir, and you robbed him. Funny world. You show a criminal's grasp of sophistry, sir. Sorry for my pronunciation. I did no such thing. You kill. I kill. You rob. I rob. Only difference is I can see I choose whom I kill and rob. And you destroy everything in your path. I've just heard about enough. I'll tell you what. You give me the ship $10,000 and say passage out of here, I'll let you live. I'll do no such thing. You sure? Good. I prefer it this way. And boom! Shoots Cornwall. And then Arthur goes, you lost your mind! Noise, Arthur! Noise! And that shows that Dutch, how crazy he's been. And then the ending in the train robbery, that John basically gets shot, falls off, and Arthur screams for his life, John! And then it goes from there, the same place they blew up. And then Arthur's pissed at Dutch. He basically figures out who Dutch really is. And another example is Dutch also betrayed Arthur in the Native American War. Basically what happened was, it's the mission called My Last Son. What happened was, Arthur was there, they found the gold, and then a smoke line hits him, he falls down. If it weren't for Rains Falls, oh, what the fuck was his name? The other Native American, sorry, I fucking forget his name. Arthur would have been dead, or probably had the same fate as John getting put into prison, but he comes in, shoots them, and sacrifices himself for Arthur. While Dutch was there basically to just get richer. You see, he became everything he hated. Because in the beginning, you see, Dutch was portrayed like as a guy, a Robin Hood-like figure. Now he's just one of those criminals to get rich. But what you find out later in the game is this was one of the big moments after that. I'm going to play this dialogue at the end. Give me 1 minute, guys, while I pull this up. Sorry, my nose is fucked up. Last mission, of course. I will talk about the penultimates. Yeah, here it is. Our best selves. And the war mission I was talking about was my last boy. Right here. I'm gonna let this speak for itself.
I tried.
Actually, rewind.
Where's John?
This part, I'm gonna let it speak for itself, guys.
Just about. Well, let's move. Where's John?
I'm not showing footage, by the way, because of I'm not showing footage for right now, just in case of copyright. But whatever. I am uploading a tribute to this game very soon. But yeah, here's the dialogue. This speaks for itself about how much Dutch has turned.
I tried. You didn't make it. That patrol killed him. You had to run.
Come on, let's go before another patrol turns up. Ha! Ha!
Right here, this scene, Arthur's look on his face explains it all. He knew Dutch was lying. He knew Dutch could have done something, but he didn't. And he's mad because that was his brother. Arthur looked at John like a little brother. And he wanted to help him. And I really like this story because what Arthur's arc is, you see, he's a very bad person. He's murdered people, he's caused a person to die, he's made people go broke, and now what he does at the end is he sacrifices himself in order to give John a better life. Unfortunately, for those who played the first game, you know that doesn't end successfully, which is too bad, but hats off to Rockstar. But now we're going to get to the ending, which, just like GTA 4, has two endings. Now this is the ending I go by, but the other ending I do not believe is canon. This ending is, and that is the help John to safety ending. Now I'm going to play one of the best dialogue parts in a minute. So here we go. One of my favorite parts, and now that we're at the ending, the penultimate mission is, it's epic, and it does do a lot of things similarly that the first game did. Whatever, its final mission happened. Like, Abigail sees Arthur last time on a horse, like Abigail sees John last time on a horse. And she tells him Jack is safe, this and that. And at first, you see that at first they're not going to get Micah. They're not going to get Abigail. Hang on, guys. I'm just going to cut really quickly because I have a call. So, excuse me for 1 second. What I was saying, you robbed me, sir, and you robbed him. Funny world. You show a criminal's grasp of sophistry, sir. Sorry for my pronunciation. I did no such thing. You kill. I kill. You rob. I rob. Only difference is I can see I choose whom I kill and rob. And you destroy everything in your path. I've just heard about enough. I'll tell you what. You give me the ship $10,000 and say passage out of here, I'll let you live. I'll do no such thing. You sure? Good. I prefer it this way. And boom! Shoots Cornwall. And then Arthur goes, you lost your mind! Noise, Arthur! Noise! And that shows that Dutch, how crazy he's been. And then the ending in the train robbery, that John basically gets shot, falls off, and Arthur screams for his life, John! And then it goes from there, the same place they blew up. And then Arthur's pissed at Dutch. He basically figures out who Dutch really is. And another example is Dutch also betrayed Arthur in the Native American War. Basically what happened was, it's the mission's called My Last Son. What happened was, Arthur was there, they found the gold, and then a smoke line hits him, he falls down. If it weren't for Falls, oh, what the fuck was his name? The other Native American, sorry, I fucking forget his name. Arthur would have been dead, or probably had the same fate as John getting put into prison, but he comes in, shoots them, and sacrifices himself for Arthur. While Dutch was there basically to just get richer. you see became everything he hated. Because in the beginning you see Dutch was portrayed like as a guy, a Robin Hood like figure. Now he's just one of those criminals to get rich. But what you find out later in the game is this was one of the big moments after that. I'm going to play this dialogue at the end. Give me 1 minute, guys, while I pull this up. Sorry, my nose is fucked up. Last mission, of course. I will talk about the penultimate. Yeah, here it is. Our best selves. And the war mission I was talking about was my last boy. Right here. I'm gonna let this speak for itself.
I tried.
Actually, rewind.
Where's John?
This part, I'm gonna let it speak for itself, guys.
Just about. Well, let's move. Where's John?
I'm not showing footage, by the way, because of I'm not showing footage for right now, just in case of copyright. But whatever. I am uploading a tribute to this game very soon. But yeah, here's the dialogue. This speaks for itself about how much Dutch has turned.
I tried.
He didn't make it. That patrol killed him. We had to run.
Come on, let's go before another patrol turns up. Ha! Ha!
Right here, this scene, Arthur's look on his face explains it all. He knew Dutch was lying. He knew Dutch could have done something, but he didn't. And he's mad because that was his brother. Arthur looked at John like a little brother. And he wanted to help him. And I really like this story because what Arthur's arc is, you see he's a very bad person. He's murdered people, he's caused a person to die, he's made people go broke, and now what he does at the end is he sacrifices himself in order to give John a better life. Unfortunately, for those who played the first game, you know that doesn't end successfully, which is too bad, but hats off to Rockstar. But now we're going to get to the ending, which, just like GTA 4, has two endings. Now this is the ending I go by, but the other ending I do not believe is canon. This ending is, and that is the help John to safety ending. Now I'm going to play one of the best dialogue parts in a minute. So here we go. One of my favorite parts, and now that we're at the ending, the penultimate mission it's epic, and it does do a lot of things similarly that the first game did. Whatever, its final mission happened. Like, Abigail sees Arthur last time on a horse, like Abigail sees John last time on a horse. And she tells him Jack is safe, this and that. And at first, you see that at first they're not going to get Micah. They're not going to get Abigail. Hang on, guys. I'm just going to cut really quickly because I have a call. So, excuse me for 1 second. Back to what I was saying was, you see at the end that they're at first not going to go get Abigail back. Here's the dialogue from that scene.
It's a girl. They won't do nothing to her. But me and the boys know. We need to keep riding on
Pete
this one,
and the
Dutch.
other guy.
You know it.
Forget the
Every
name.
man here knows
We're
it.
just gonna let the boy be made an orphan? It ain't like that. What is it like?
I want to live, cowpoke. I still got the choice. Dutch. It's just a girl.
You're right. Micah, it pains me to say it, Arthur. but he's right. Come on, boys.
I love that scene right there because Arthur realized Dutch is fully gone and he's not coming back. Like he said, it's guessed that's that.
Goddamn years.
Come on.
So what happens from there is they rescue Abigail, and you get one of the most tear-jerking scenes in a video game history. And I love the score in this part of the game too. When I was talking about the intense, fantastic score here it is. Right here. The score composer in this game was phenomenal. I love the score. I like it because it keeps rising and it's epic, that scene with Arthur sniping all the Pinkertons, and you get to this revealing scene I mentioned earlier. I love the dialogue here.
That's quite a cough.
Sure. Tuberculosis. I'll be dead soon. And you with me, Mr. Milton.
You'll be dead, sure. But I'm gonna be just fine.
Here it
They
comes.
offered you a deal, Mr. Morgan.
Here it comes.
Should have taken it.
I'm a fool, Mr. Milton.
Not all you boys have quite so many boys came back.
Molly.
Molly
Right here.
O'Shea?
Right here.
Sweated her a couple of times, never talked a word, had to let her go.
Of course, Molly O'Shea. Nobody,
Micah
everyone
Bell.
knows.
Who picked him up, and you boys came back from the Caribbean. He's been a good boy ever since.
Yep, Micah read it on the Vanderlyn gang.
Okay.
So after this, Arthur kills Milton, yeah, or Abigail does. You get this scene here.
It's all our money.
This scene, no joke, I almost cried.
She was.
Arthur, Rockstar did such a good job with this.
The many miles we walk.
And what you see here is Arthur's fully transformed in his arc by this point. You see, he went from a guy who beat up people, he did everything for the gang, he'd kill people who didn't need to be killed, he'd rob people who didn't need to be robbed, to a guy who sacrifices himself in order to give these people a better life, the Marston family. Right here, you see it goes into a cinematic camera, and this is why I recommend High Honor. Listen here.
I just wish you'd done it before you worked yourself into the grave.
That's whenever you see Arthur Londonderry.
Really sorry for your son. It's a hell.
That's from the tuberculosis scene.
And all you can do now is decide to make
Meredith Downs.
the time you have left.
And it just keeps riding with Arthur getting thoughts in his head. Now, if you have bad honor, you get Hosea, the Pinkertons talking, but this is canon right here. Arthur with good honor. It really does a good job. Right here is another good scene. I'll mention it later.
You said live my life.
This is whenever you see a Native American girl. They soldier with him. And you hear, I forgot to mention, one of the things I think they did a good job is what here's an example of what I'm talking about. Most prequels, they fuck up in adding unnecessary shit, but this one you see Arthur had a girl who loved him named Mary Linton. And then he does a mission for her. She helps her brother get out. And it's sad, that scene, because you see they were a very tragic love, kind of like Louise and Victor Vance in Vice City Stories. And it did a good job, and that plays into the post game. When I get to that part, I'm going to mention it. But anyways.
Thank you, brother.
This is the Native American soldier with dating the Native American who basically retreated because he helped him out during Strauss's mission. He's like, well, since I'm here, that sort of thing.
You know, there ain't enough kindness in this world, that's for sure.
This part, I was literally in tears. And he's just basically Arthur is riding to his death. Right here. And he knows it. And the music gets more and more intense. And then it ends there. Arthur thought John died. Now what makes his death work? Normally I hate when protagonists die, but especially when it's done wrong. Red Dead Redemption 1 kind of was out of nowhere, and it shocked you when John was shot to death by the FBI. But in this game, you knew it was coming, and it still worked because of the very well written script. That's one of the things I love about Rockstar. They do a good job. Sorry for playing with these headphones. They did a good job with the writing. You get to the end, and then he eventually confronts Dutch and tells him about the Pinkertons. And then Susan Grimshaw gets shot. And then you have this scene right here with John.
All makes
Excuse me.
sense now. No. You're dead cool now.
Right here.
Dutch!
And this is the central theme in the first
Left
game.
me! Left me to die! My boy. I didn't have a choice.
And then right here comes one of the most epic as fuck stand-ups.
Left me!
And then right here, it's Arthur helping John get out.
Oh, yeah. There's wind.
Right here plays the epic score again. Then the Pinkertons, they come in. And then they have a shootout through the cave. And it gets really sad at this ending because Arthur's gonna die at this scene. They have a shootout, and as you can hear, there's Edgar Ross. They go into the caves. And this part, I almost teared up with. Literally almost teared up with. Because they're running, going through, and talking to him.
Stay with me, Arthur!
And then you see Arthur, one of the things you really see is Arthur gets weaker and weaker throughout the final mission. They get to the top, they're running, and then they have a shootout, and you have another great scene, which I'm going to move my phone over, and I want to play it right here, because I like using this as an example. And he tells John that they got Jack. He's at this Sadie and that Jack and Abigail, and he's with Sadie and them, and they're in Copperhead Landing. And right here, you have to have high honor with your horse. Right here.
Come on!
Arthur has a cutscene with his dying horse, which you can only get if you have high honor with your horse.
Arthur!
And he thanks him. And then
Got a family. That's more important.
here's the part where you can decide if you want to help John or do you want to go back for the money. Now I believe helping John is the canon ending. And here's why. I'm going to talk about that before I talk to the post game. Here's where the post game was at. Or actually, right here. It starts from here. And I love this scene. Right here. When you pick it. Puts on his hat.
I'm coming with you.
And then the music rises and they go up the mountain.
Damn thing I do. Thank you.
Then the score plays.
Keep pushing.
And you have one of the saddest sacrifices in gaming history, I think.
Come on, let's go.
You go. I'm going to play it right here, and then I'm going to give my thoughts on the scene.
Keep pushing, Arthur. No.
Arthur's getting weaker.
I think I've pushed all I can. Come on, you go.
And then he sacrifices himself for John, and here comes the scene where I literally cried. He takes off his hat, tells John that they're not going to make it, and he's going to hold him off. And this scene's sad because John looked at Arthur like a brother. The guy who always had his back throughout everything. And it really shows.
It would mean a lot to me.
Whenever he sacrifices him, he gets Dutch out. He gives the advice to his family in the train robbery and that. He gives him his journal. And it goes here.
Arthur.
I almost cried
Go to
here.
your family. Arthur. Get the hell out of here and be a goddamn
For
man.
sacrifice. And here it comes. Then it gets epic. Now, I'm not going to play the part where it shows go to the money because you guys can look that up, but basically it's just sacrifices, get the money, yada yada yada, this and that. And he says, be seeing you, Arthur, yada yada yada. I'm not a fan of the go for the money ending because it doesn't make sense in my opinion. I mean, yeah, you could say, well, Arthur going for the money, that distracted them. Still, it doesn't work, it doesn't make sense or anything. So now what happens is John escapes, and then Arthur distracts them while John is escaping. And then Micah comes out. I'm just going to play this scene with Micah coming out.
That's all there is.
Right here, Micah comes out, and I made sure to beat the fuck out of Micah. Oh, and also about Micah, his voice actor also voices Dr. Harlan Fontaine in L.A. Noire, and congrats to his voice actor, Peter Blomquist, I think that's how you say his name. He did a fantastic job playing Micah, because he really did a good job making you want to hate him. So, good job to Peter Blomquist with that. And then after this, they fight, they fall off the mountain, and they have a fight with each other. And then you get to the ending, which is why I recommend you have good honor. And I'm going to explain this after this.
Talking crazy. Give you all I had. Dutch. Let's go, buddy.
I'm going to explain it after this. What
We
happens.
made it. We won it.
Dutch is just standing there. Realizes that Micah did it. Was the one who talked to the Pinkertons.
The rest of us. No. But I tried. In the end.
Dutch is stepping back here.
Come on, Dutch. Come on.
Now, here's the scene that you can only get if you have good honor, and I think this is canon. This ending and the good honor Arthur are canon. Bad honor Arthur and go for the money Arthur are not canon, in my opinion. Now, what you see happens here is Arthur is crawling to the sun, and he dies. And it's one of the most tear-jerking scenes. He dies in front of the sunset, and he's not mad that he died because he got John out. He sacrificed himself, and he made it good. Now, if you have bad honor, like low honor, Micah will shoot him in the head. And somebody, I forget which video it is, but somebody down in the comments made a really good theory on why this is. Is that if you have good honor, Micah doesn't murder him, he just leaves because he knows Arthur beat him. He knows Arthur won. So he just leaves like that. And if you have bad honor, like you play Arthur as a bad person, Micah murders him because he basically murdered himself, his rival, basically. And whoever mentioned that made a really good theory about it. Because I agree with that person. Micah knows he lost. Micah knows Arthur won because John is out. And then he's that. And then Arthur dies. And this is the end of the main game. Stand unshaken. Now you get to the post game with a few references. And now you see where the references to the first game really show. The first part you see is that John and Abigail, now you switch to John. Now, kind of like how in the first game, when you got to the post game, when you killed Edgar Ross as Jack, and you played as Jack after you finished the main game. In the post game, in this game, you play as John, which is really cool in my opinion, because you really see. Now I always say prequels usually don't work, but Rockstar makes them work because they make it make sense. Like you see that John can't exactly escape his outlaw past. You see he's trying to get work, but then it ends up with a shootout. They end up running, and then what happens is he finds a grocery store with a help wanted sign, helps a guy named Mr. Geddes, and they have trouble. What's really cool is the voice actor for Marty J. Williams voices one of the gang members who harasses them, which I thought that was so cool, and I thought I was hearing things till I looked it up, but one of the voice actors of the gang members, rival gang members, also voiced Marty J. Williams in Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories, one of the best antagonists. But yeah, you see, he can't escape his outlaw past, and basically he helps the Geddes get through. And you see how it's set up, how he gets his farm. First you see that he gets a bank loan, he runs into Uncle, and you get one of the best memes. Like, games from Rockstar have had memes over the years, like San Andreas, it was the 2 number 9s, 45 large, it was that meme, and GTA 4 was Pullman's bowling meme. Nico, let's go bowling. And, well, Red Dead Redemption 2's meme is Lumbago. He gets a loan in Blackwater, and then he runs into Uncle as he was getting out, and this is where it really stands, and he's like, John, I'm going to play it because I like to use it as an example to get it right. He also runs into Sadie Adler in Gainful Employment, and another cool callback is you go through the same area you did when you started working for the sheriff in Red Dead 1, which that's really cool in my opinion, how you do that. And that's like a really cool way to make a reference. Like, first he works with Sadie Adler to get money for the loan and all that. And one of the cool references before he laughs after the mission. First in the mission, Jim Milton rides again. When he first is about to shoot the gang member, you see the way he's aiming the shotgun, John? That's the same way he is on the poster in the first game, which that was so cool. And not only that, the next one, hang on guys 1 second. Hey guys, I kind of don't mean to be interrupted by this with all the calls, but back to what I was saying is, you see when John leaves the Geddes apartment, he puts on his default outfit in the first game, and you see a little music play, which is really cool. It really is. And then he goes to the loan, runs into Uncle, and it's really funny. I'm going to show it off right here. And in the next mission you see is Bare Knuckles' friendship. He does run into Charles Smith, which, like I said this again, Charles Smith, I love him. He's one of my favorite characters. And one of the hunting side missions, which you have that throughout the game, he literally shoots a guy because he murdered He literally shoots a poacher, which is fucking badass. I'll just say that right now. And then he's like, "Did you shoot them?" And then boom, right there. And Charles, he's a great guy, the type of friend I'd want, but not the kind of guy who I'd want to piss off. That's the best way I can put it. Okay. And then you see in the beginning of the home of the gentry, you see that at first his home is basically a dump. And then it builds from there. He owns the land, but first the home is a dump, basically. And then you get this scene with Uncle.
Well, it is you. Well,
I love Uncle in this game.
dead, boy.
I like the way Uncle is built up in this game. You also see that he mentions Lumbago in the very beginning. But yeah, Uncle, you know, you didn't get really much of an idea with him in the beginning of the game. He was more serious in the first one. But this one, they make him more of a comic relief, which is so funny. Rockstar did a good job at that, but I'm going to play it.
Shane, come here. I saw you going into the bank, and by the looks of things, you ain't robbed it.
I've gone straight.
Oh, bull crap.
No, for real. Well, I'm trying.
All these years, you ain't changed a bit. Maybe a little bit. I thought you was dead.
Not yet. Well, I got some things to take care
No,
of.
not a problem. I'll come too.
No, you don't have to.
Oh, I'm real sick, John.
Lumbago!
Slow.
And then, basically, they go there, and then they go to Saint Denis. I'm going to play the dialogue with Charles, and they do reference Arthur, and usually, of course, depending on your honor, they'll say Arthur wasn't a good man, and Arthur, if he has a good honor. And this is what he basically happens when he runs into Charles. And Charles, I'm going to say this, he's probably my favorite side character, because he's a badass. And he's very reliable, and I love that about him. Alright. Here he is.
We both know what you gotta do. I'm leaving now. You don't know the half of it.
John, you're.
I'm alive.
I love Charles'
it's
reaction
okay.
here.
That's Uncle?
What are you doing?
But basically, after that, what
I'm alive.
happens? They get
I
out.
thought maybe he was in some sort
Charles is basically street fighting, and then he comes back to help, and you get to the. You go from there. You meet Sadie. Then you buy the land, and then you start building the house, and you get the really cool theme. I'm gonna play really quickly for a little bit, and it's like you're interacting with an old school montage, but here it is. See that they're building it. I like it. Because it really sets up the first game very well. But yeah, Charles and them helps out, and then Abigail and them comes back for the mission, trying again, and then you get to the very last, penultimate mission of American Venom. And basically, this is basically what set up the first game. Is John figures out where Dutch and Micah are hiding. And then they go after them. First they kill Cleet, which they have the option, do you want to spare him or keep him? Even if you spare him, Sadie shoots him, so yeah. That's self-explanatory. But then he goes after Cleet. And then basically he dies. They fight through a shootout in the mountains, and then you run into Micah. Now, if you have good honor and you do the go for the money, he'll have one eye. But this one, basically, they reference Arthur. And he's like, Arthur saved my life. And this part of the game, by the way, it takes place in 1907. And then he goes, Arthur's been dead for a long time. This is a new century. And I want to get to also about Abigail. He proposes to Abigail. And one of the things I think really worked was he proposed with the ring Arthur was going to propose to Mary with. And you see John holds up a picture of Arthur, which that scene was very sad, but very, very sweet, because he still thought of Arthur. And, of course, Abigail says yes, they do that, they go kill Micah. And basically, here's the dialogue exchange between Dutch, John, and Arthur, and Charles goes to... And this moment, this last part of the mission, American Venom, really sets up the first game. Anyways, here it is.
Well, maybe after all this.
I look forward to meeting them.
You always want to be careful in this section because Micah's a good shot. Peter Blomquist, he did a good job as Micah. Then Dutch comes out like this. And you see Dutch has deteriorated a lot.
I suppose.
Right here. Here's the great dialogue I was talking about.
What are you doing here?
And I always make sure I have on Arthur's hat to commemorate him.
Dutch and I are teaming up once more. Honey, we got dreams. Join us, John. Join us.
Let her go.
Now I can't do that, John.
Dutch.
And they have this exchange. Dutch is quiet, basically. And they're setting it up.
Shot at me, son. Yourself.
I don't want to kill you, John.
And this is also one of the longest.
Arthur saved my life. More than once.
Arthur's been dead a long time. This is a new son.
And I love that they reference Arthur. And another nice detail is if you play a stranger mission as Arthur, but then wait till the post game to play as John, John will reference Arthur and say he's been sent by Arthur and that he was a friend, and mention that he died. And then it'll go. And I think that's really cool that they did that.
Dutch, killing me.
And then after this,
I
Dutch
got too much to
shoots
say.
Micah in the chest. And now here comes the part where John basically gets Edgar Ross and Archer Fordham on him. As he goes after Micah, and then right here, it kind of sets it up as it goes into the Deadeye. And what I was talking about earlier is John's Deadeye in the post game in Red Dead 2 is the same sound as in the first game, which I thought that was cool. It actually took me a little bit to notice, but he shoots Micah. Micah stands for a little bit, kind of like how John dies when John dies in the first game, and then flops down. So it's basically kind of like a symbol that John basically killed himself. And this part kind of references why in the first game John didn't kill Dutch at first, is because he spared his life. So yeah. And then it goes from there. In the end credits, you do see Edgar Ross and Archer Fordham basically spying on him. Kind of like a setup. And then poof, we're in the first game. So, I love this game. I love the story. I want everyone to tell me down in the comments, what do you think of it? Where would you rank it for Rockstar's best games? Because Arthur Morgan, he's up there as one of my favorite protagonists from Rockstar. So, I love this game. It's my favorite PS4 game of all time, and it will always be. So, thank you guys for watching. I know this was kind of a rambly review, but look forward to my tribute. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.